All right, I've done this a couple times now. I always have fun doing it, which is recommending some under the radar movies. These movies are all films that have come out recently, kind of this year. I mean, some of these movies came out in film festivals in 2023, but then have not actually gotten a wide release or been accessible to everybody until this year. So, recent movies we can say in the past year or so that have come out that I think are very good and really aren't getting talked about too much, but I think maybe should. So yeah, this is going to be four movies, and I guess we'll go from worst to best, although they're all movies I consider good. Let's just get into the list. Obviously, there will be no spoilers here, but yeah, let's jump into it. First, number 4 on the list is Gasoline Rainbow, a movie that is on Mubi right now, as long as you can, all these movies you can get off of Amazon or like iTunes or Apple, that kind of stuff, if you want to. But this is a movie that tells the story of five just out of high school kids who kind of go on an adventure just for the sake of going on an adventure, trying to, explore as they are just on the early stages of becoming adults. This is a very dialogue heavy movie. It's very much a hangout movie, almost reminds you of like a Richard Linklater type film. And if that's your kind of thing, I think this is definitely one worth checking out. If that's not your kind of thing, that's what it is. If you're 15 minutes in and are bored, it's not going to change. That's how it is. But I really found it pretty fun to watch. Definitely has a lot of interesting music choices and feels very naturalistic dialogue. It does feel to me like it very much reminds me of the conversations I had, now over, now over 10 years ago when I was graduating high school. Feels weird to say that, but definitely can remind me of being in that, in that phase, and feels very much, it really captures the feeling of being in a situation where you don't really know what you want out of life yet. You don't really know even what life truly is at this point in your life, but you still are kind of figuring that out, and that sort of aimless feeling in a very fun way. So yeah, that's Gasoline Rainbow, which is number 4 on my list. Number 3 is a movie called My First Film, another movie, which you can check out there. Which I gotta say, like I really recommend. If you like movies and like sort of these independent movies, I do recommend Mubi. You can learn a lot, find a lot of kind of underground movies. This is how I found these two, which is sort of clicking on some of them. But My First Film is a film. It's almost it's an interesting title because it's about a woman who's a filmmaker, and this is her first film, but it's also about her attempt at making her first film, often recreated. And part of the fun of this movie is how almost it seemingly floats in between realities of what is real and what isn't real. This is very much a meta film, and it's very much about kind of what it means to make movies in general. It's also a lot about regret, as the filmmaker talks a lot about how she regrets a lot of the decisions she made and how she handled her attempt at making the first movie. Also talks about some other things that she has had to grapple with in her life and other hardships she's had to grapple with in her life. This is another one where, kind of similar to Gasoline Rainbow, 15 minutes in, you're going to know if you love this movie or hate this movie. She describes early on in this film a story where she was contacted to direct something for, I believe it was a magazine, or it wouldn't have been a magazine. I guess magazine company or a YouTube channel or something, and they said that she was too esoteric, meaning she is too kind of for a very niche audience, and I feel like I am in that niche audience. I really enjoyed this movie. I've heard some people criticize this one, calling it a bit self-indulgent, and to some degree, I can see why people get that, but I think if you're going to make a movie like this, you should self-indulge. That's kind of the correct way to make this movie, in my opinion. So yeah, that's My First Film. I was very much a fan of that one. Number 2 on the list is a movie that got a little bit more buzz than some of these other movies have, called The Beast. This is currently on the Criterion channel, again, as well as you can get it off Amazon. This is a wild film. I mean, this feels like kind of almost equal parts like Mulholland Drive and like a science fiction film. I can't think of a great example, but very science fiction-y, almost like The Fountain, the Darren Aronofsky movie, as you have people taking place in different time periods. It's hard to really explain too much about it because I don't want to spoil anything, but this is a wild film. Like I said, it's science fiction, kind of talking about what it means to feel is kind of the concept of this film, which is a bold concept to come up with. I do have some spoiler-filled analysis of this one on my Letterboxd, Jackson Kruger, if you want to hear more like my theories and stuff. But like, it has the science fiction stuff, but then also you see them, the main characters interacting in a different time period from hundreds of years ago, and it's kind of the question. And I think the fun of this movie is figuring out what's going on here and what it all means and what it's all supposed to represent, as this is not a film that ties everything up in a perfect bow, although there are still things you can take away, on a first watch. Very wild film. Just to give you an example of how kind of out there this can be at times is there's a specific part at the end of the movie. So movie's over, the credits roll, and it gives you a little like barcode, or I forget what it's called, but the thing that you scan on your phone and then it takes you to a website so you can watch the credits. And I'm like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. So I did it, and then there's like a mid-credit scene in that like the video that you watch on your phone, not through the movie itself, which was very, very bizarre and very interesting. So yeah, it's a really good movie. I really do recommend it. I can't talk too much about it without spoiling, so I can't say much about what I like about it, but really a fascinating watch. A bit of a slower watch, should mention that as well. So if you're looking for something maybe a bit more fast-paced, a bit more light and fun, probably not I think there is fun to be had and there is fast-paced stuff in it, but that's not all it's doing. So there are some slower moments as well. But if that's your kind of thing, definitely check out The Beast again on Criterion Channel if you're interested. And finally, the film that I currently have as my favorite movie of 2024. Again, I keep a running list on my Letterboxd, subject to change. I will make a video at the end of the year talking about my favorite movies and ranking them. But it's called Evil Does Not Exist. It is also on the Criterion Channel. It's made from the same director of Drive My Car. So, if you like that movie, this one is... There's similarities for sure. It is not a exact film, and in fact, this is the movie that, talk about slow paced, it can get very slow paced. It invites you into this world. I would recommend watching it on as big of a screen as you have in your house if you're watching it at home, which I assume most of you will. The first 30 minutes or so, you're really just experiencing life through the eyes of our protagonist in this one. It's not until later when the plot kind of starts to kick in, which is essentially it's about a company who is trying to create a glamping site in the middle of a small town area and maybe not paying attention to some of the negative ramifications that can come from that. Again, I won't spoil what happens. I will say, though, that people have had mixed feelings on the ending. I personally, I agree it wasn't the most maybe emotionally satisfying. I gave my thoughts on it in my Letterboxd review of that, so check that out again, Jackson Kruger. But it worked for me. It didn't work for everyone. It worked for me. But yeah, very much a really just unique experience, and one I think is very, very fascinating. So while if you don't like slower movies, this one might not be your thing. I think that if you're willing to kind of, let yourself get transported into a world for a bit and kind of just exist in the nature, it's a beautiful looking movie. I haven't made my thumbnail yet. I'm almost sure the thumbnail is going to be of this movie just because of how many great shots there were in it. Definitely a film that I recommend. So yeah, those are 4 under the radar movies you probably haven't heard of, or maybe you have. Maybe you're a big film fan. Maybe these are obvious movies, and I need to be diving even deeper. I don't know, but let me know in the comments below. Have you seen any of these movies? Did you enjoy them? And also, hey, do you have another underrated movie that has come out this year that you want to talk about? Put it in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.